Hey guys, welcome to the stream. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're all staying safe. My heart goes out to those that have been affected by COVID. So anyway, moving on. So this stream, we're going to be talking about new hardware that's coming out. Obviously, C4D R23. So we'll be talking about the changes to that, the new features, and the changes to Python that may affect a few things as well, and just a general chat as well. It would be great to get your guys' perspective on it. And Maxon One as well. We've got a new sort of tier of subscription, which looks pretty interesting too. So let's just get into it. I'll get the digital meat stuff out of the way first. What do I want to talk about? Okay, yeah. So the first thing I should probably talk about is a few little hardware upgrades I've actually sorted out for better video and audio quality when it comes to my videos and stuff like that. So you probably noticed that behind me I've got some acoustic treatment tiles. I've got a wall of it in front of me now as well, and up above, so hopefully that'll eliminate a lot of the room ring that we were getting in my videos and live streams. I've also got some LED panels now, so I should be lit better, so that'll be good for live streams as well. And I've also got a shock mount for the mic, so it just means that there's going to be less noise when I knock the table. It won't travel through the boom arm of the mic and all that kind of stuff. People are saying hi in the chat. Hello chat, hello everyone. Okay, so there's that stuff. Some other changes, some other bits and bobs. Let me going to take my headphones off for a minute because they're noise cancelling and it makes it hard to hear yourself speak. I'm not used to them yet. But okay, let's move on to the next scene there. Let's talk about digital meat briefly. So I've got some updates to the website as well. So, okay, the tutorials page. Before, the URL would just say digitalmeat.uk/tutorials, and you'd have these filter buttons for the tutorials, so you can filter by category. But this has changed now, so the filter is actually in the URL of the web page. So if you did want to specifically share the real flow for C4D tutorials, you can do now because it's actually part of the URL. So that's a change that I've made to the website. Also, free C4D plugins have been moved back to the tutorials page as well. I did actually move them to the store section, and I don't really know why I did that. Because they're free, so it didn't really make sense. I moved them back. Posts on the blog page now display links correctly, so let's hop over to the blog page. If we shoot down to something that has a link, here we go. Here's a good example. Excuse me. These links weren't displaying properly within this blog feed. It had all the sort of HTML data stripped out, and so it just dumped download on the end of a sentence like here with no color and no actual link. So that's been fixed now, so some of you may have noticed that in the past. I've also sorted out a pagination bug as well. If you go to the bottom, you can see we've got an older post here. This was actually displaying over here, and the blog is actually listed in descending order, so newest posts first, oldest at the bottom, and it was a little bit confusing the way it was set out, so I sorted that out as well, so that's good. What else have I done? Oh yeah, something that's coming, I haven't quite done yet, is I'm going to embed YouTube live chat within these posts. So for something like this, obviously I don't want it in this feed here, it'll just display the video, but once you go inside the post, I'm going to have it display here. So I've got to do a bit of coding to get that working in it not be dragged actually into the blog page. So that'll be coming soon. I've also deleted the appropriate free plugins from that category as well, because in this category here, when it loads, there we go. There was a couple of videos I did for free plugins that are either no longer being looked after, or the links to those plugins are just completely dead, like the websites have been shut down. So I did a bit of cleanup and removed those ones from that section as well, because people were complaining, you know, saying in the comments of the videos, where are these? And even I didn't know, so I removed the appropriate plugins there as well. People in the chat saying hello, hi from Argentina, hi from the UK. Hello everyone. So yeah, there's a couple of changes being made to the website, and like I said, I've got some hardware upgrades, so hopefully the quality of the audio and the video should be a lot better for you guys. So yeah, that's pretty much it for that. Sorry, I've got a list of stuff here. I'm just trying to work my way through. Okay, so streams as well. I was doing a little bit of modelling for the last project I was working on, and there was a couple of moments in there where I was trying to model something, got to a point when that's not the right way to do it, went back, tried it again, and then when I finally got the solution, I thought, why didn't I think of that originally? And the answer is practice. I'm not getting enough in, I don't think. So, excuse me. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do some nice chilled out live streams. I'm just going to be modeling in them, and it'll just be a nice environment for people to chat amongst themselves and with each other, and I can just get on with a bit of modeling. It'll be nice and chilled out, nothing too heavy. So yeah, I think I'll bring some modeling streams to the channel as well. Something else I've been considering as well, and don't panic, but Blender streams. Obviously, you know me as a C4D user, and don't worry, I'm not abandoning C4D or anything like that. But I thought it'd be interesting to do a few streams using Blender from the perspective of a C4D user that's not really used it before. So you can make fun of me and scream at this. You know, for those of you that do use it, I should imagine you'll be screaming at the screen, going, "No, you don't do it like that." But yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how easy it is and how different it is as well. So I'll be doing some Blender streams as well. Okay, so before we move on to the, you know, the main crux of this stream, which is C4D R23, and this is actually something that ties in with that in a sort of unrelated way, but the new hardware, GPU hardware, that's was announced on the 1st of this month. Excuse me. Let's just grab that and bring it up. Now this is the one I'm looking at, and in the UK it's 649, which is not a bad price considering the, well, depending on what card you've already got, the jump. And for me, I think this is worth it. I've still got a 10 series card. I actually missed I missed out the last iteration of cards. It'll be interesting to know where you guys are on this, but I think for the money, it's probably worth the performance jump for me from a 10 series. So that's what I'm going to be looking at, and from what I've heard, it's going to be pretty difficult to get hold of these come the 17th. So you're going to have to be pretty on the ball if you want to get hold of these. But this does have ramifications in other areas, especially when it comes to things like C4D and all the other stuff you pay for. Because not everyone has got an endless resource of money that they can just chuck at stuff they want. They have to sort of prioritize. And but I think this is going to be really, really good. Obviously, most of the stuff online that people are talking about in relation to these cards is from a gaming perspective, and I've not really heard a lot from the perspective of GPU rendering. Although a lot of these people like Jay's 2 Cents and a lot of other YouTubers that take a look at this stuff, they've been sent the cards I haven't talked about them yet, but apparently that's Monday. Monday, there's going to be a lot more information coming up out about these cards in regards to sort of real world data, real world testing. So that'll be interesting to see, especially if they run benchmarks for rendering, GPU rendering. And I don't mean real-time rendering as in game stuff. I mean actual tests for the rendering that we're interested in. That's going to have pretty big ramifications for us, I think. A lot of people are saying that it'll be interesting to see what AMD come out with, because they've got their big Navi cards coming. But I should imagine for us that largely doesn't matter, I don't think, because Mike Abbott's in the chat saying Redshift are promising rendering benchmarks as soon as the embargo is lifted. Excellent. That's good to know. Oh, excuse me, I'm quite gassy. Yeah, that will be interesting to have a look at those numbers. I don't really know what... Please discuss about the VRAM issue. Windows 10 makes some VRAM unavailable in Octane renderer. This you noticed it before. I was not aware of that, actually. Why? Why does Windows 10 make some VRAM unavailable in Octane? Unless it's keeping a section of it for itself? I don't quite understand that. Is that the same in all renderers? Or is that specifically Octane? It'll be good to get some answers in the chat if you know. But yeah, I think if that is an issue in Octane, maybe look at another renderer if it's affecting you. Davo says, I think that's normal. That's good, so it might be across the board then. You got your answer. Even on secondary GPUs, no, it's the same in others as well. Okay, good. Okay, well that's that settled then. Yeah, I should imagine that Windows is going to have to like partition off a little bit of resources for itself, depending on what it needs it for, obviously. And I wonder if there's a way that you can actually dig in to Windows 10 and get rid of that by altering Windows 10 itself. Although, if you don't know what you're doing, you probably shouldn't mess around with that. Yeah, that, like I said, it'll be really interesting to see the results in terms of rendering for us. And also something that I think should be mentioned as well. I don't really know in what technical terms RTX has in terms of rendering, because obviously you've got your CUDA cores. This is something else I should mention as well. You know, a lot of people are saying, oh, we should wait for Big Navi to see what they come out with. But as far as I'm aware, the majority of renderers require CUDA cores, which is an NVIDIA exclusive technology. So I think for the large part, most of us will be looking at NVIDIA cards, because it really doesn't matter what the performance of these Big Navi cards are like if they can't be utilized by our renderers. So, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's the impression that I get. So at least for me, there's no point waiting around to see the lay of the land. I'm just going to go for this card probably. Did you get the RTX 3080 yet? I wish. I'm not like that with NVIDIA or anything like that. So no, I'm just going to have to wait with the rest of you. So yeah. Something else I wanted to mention about RTX as well. Yeah, I'm not really familiar with whether, because obviously you've got the cores within the card that drive everything, and then you've got specifically RTX cores. Now, obviously they deal with ray tracing and they're there for a specific reason, but do renderers actually have access to those cores? Are they useful to the renderers at the moment? Are they even exploiting that part of the card? Are they exploiting that technology, or is it sort of by proxy? Again, this is another reason why I want to see what the benchmarks are like. I think it's Monday next week. I think that's when the embargo is lifted. Does Octane work on Mac with AMD cards? I'm not sure, because I actually don't use Octane. So That's interesting as well. It'd be good if someone in the chat can clear that up for them. Good question though, but I thought they were working on metal. Is it like so these renderers work on Macs without the need for NVIDIA? Maybe, I don't know if that's actually been implemented yet or not. But yeah, that's definitely interested. So there are a couple of things about these cards that people were a little bit worried about. First of all is PCIe 3, which is what I'm on at the moment. And these cards support PCIe 4. And one of the questions was, am I going to have to upgrade my motherboard and all that kind of stuff? The answer is no, pretty much. If you put this card in a 16 times slot, it shouldn't flood the PCI Express lanes for PCIe 3. So you're safe for now. I know I am, because that was the first thought I had. I thought, oh Christ, I might have to go upgrade everything. Luckily my board's safe, and sorry, I'm looking for the specs for this. Where is it? Here we go. Let's have a look at the full specs. Yeah, my board's safe, and I think my chip is as well. Somebody in the chat says Redshift does use RTX. Benefits depends on scene content, of course. Great. Well, at least it's being utilised. That's really good. Jonathan is saying, I regret getting an AMD card. It has locked me out of most GPU renderers. This is what I'm saying. I don't think that most of us are going to wait around and go, oh, what's Big Navi like? Because it just doesn't matter, for the large part anyway. Yeah, so as I was saying, PCIe, you're safe with PCIe 3. It won't flood the lanes. I'm not sure about if you've got multiple cards, though. That might be a different question. Also, your chip could be a bottleneck. But then again, if your chip's that old, I mean, again, I think I'm safe. I've got a first generation Threadripper 1950X. I think there's more than enough oomph there to sort that card out. And I know they've got some kind of new technology where it bypasses reading data from RAM or something. Some newfangled thing. Again, I don't know if that's going to be utilised. I suppose it's program dependent. So, or maybe Windows dependent, who knows. Power supply was another issue as well. And it says here right at the bottom that, excuse me, the required system power is 750 watts by the looks of things. Luckily, I've got an 850, I think. I'll have to check. I better check before I order this card. The other thing, this card comes with a 12-pin connector as well, but apparently in the box you'll be getting a 8-pin, funnels 2 8-pins into a 12-pin, so you don't need to worry about your leads coming off your power supply either. And if you've got a modular power supply like I have, I suppose you could just go order the new leads. So Strange Helix, where do we check the watts? For what? For the card? Well, the card actually draws a maximum, I should imagine this is max, of 320, but for the entire system power it's recommended 750 watt power unit, because it's not just your card drawing power, it's your chip, it's got all your peripherals you got plugged in, like if you've got Oculus Rifts and mics and Christ knows what else, you want to make sure that you've got enough headroom for all the rest. 750 watts is massive. You'd want 1000 watts at least to cover all the other peripherals. Yeah, maybe. I mean, I've got 850 in at the moment, and I've got a bunch of stuff plugged into this computer. Actually, quite a lot. Obviously, you've got your chip drawing power. I've got a water pump in mine as well. I've got Oculus Rift lighthouses. Oh.
I pulled.
Shut up, Cortana. There we go. Yeah, I've got Oculus Rift lighthouses. for your system on how much. 850 watts. See at the moment. Do you have a 4K monitor too? I do not actually. I do not have a 4K monitor. And I was watching something the other day actually, and they were saying, "Oh, if you haven't got a 4K monitor, it's not worth it." Like, well, that's not true, is it? Because it depends what you're using the card for. If you're looking for raw horsepower when it comes to rendering, you don't care. You know, obviously, if you want rate, high refresh rate, that stuff, it's fine. But I'm quite happy with my 32-inch 1080p monitor because that's what I record my tutorials on, and I've found that people that record in 4K or ultra wide monitors, it's actually really hard for the user to see all the icons on screen, see what you're pressing, and it's really hard for them to read text as well if they're viewing it on a 1080p. So that's why I like to record on 1080p. What I could do is actually move up. I mean, high refresh rate monitors and quite big sizes are actually come down quite a lot now. It might be worth looking at upgrading, especially if you can alter the UI of your program so it's clear, see it fine recordings. But for the time being, I'm keeping this monitor up. Something I didn't ask actually is my volume okay? Chat, can you hear me okay? I've got a little bit of a croaky voice, and sure you guys can hear me okay. Oh, it seems the chat window is not actually appearing in the stream underneath. That's weird. Well, at least I know that you guys can see me. Usually in the stream window, the chat is also displayed on screen as well. So obviously an issue there. I'll look into that. But yeah, so the power supply thing, you know, just be aware. But from what we've seen, you know, specs supplied from Nvidia, this does look quite impressive, and it'd be really interesting specs and see if that's told. So how many of you are actually going to make this jump then? I mean, for me, it's obviously worth it. I've got a 10 series card, and this is this is a big performance jump from the last iteration of card, 280s. So if you've got a 2080 Ti and you go 38, that's a huge jump still. But for me, it's an even bigger jump being on the 10 series. So are any of you in the chat gutted because you bought a 20 series card not long back, a couple of months ago maybe, and you're regretting that decision now? I have volume on max. Yeah, all right. Well, I'll boost me up a little bit then. I've turned the gain up slightly, so that should be a little bit better for you guys, hopefully. Okay. All right, should we talk about should we move on from this and talk about Cinema 4D? Let's close this down. Wait, where? Okay, so what are your general thoughts about C4D R23 then? Leave your comments in the chat and I'll go through them and we can talk about them. But while you're doing that, I'll just go through a few of my thoughts. Let's bring up page, might as well. There we go. The first thing that struck me actually was what's with the naming, because I assumed that it was going to be S22 earlier this year, and then S being for subscription, and then R being for release later that year, pertaining to both subscription and perpetual license holders. I assumed that it was going to be called R22. So the decision to go to R23 confused me initially. And also, if you're making two number jumps every year, before you know it, we're going to be at, you know, R50, you know, so. Jonathan said it is better. Well, yeah, I mean, you'd hope it would be for every, you know, when you iterate, you expect it to improve, don't you? And that's one of the things that I think we should probably talk about. But before we actually go into the features of Cinema 4D, the SR thing is dumb. They're just confusing people. You could be right. Yeah, I mean, I'd have kept it at 22 for both. You know, the difference being the S and the R. Sure, but then again, a rose by any other name, smell as sweet and all that malarkey. What is your card at the moment? Seems you're a little bit behind in the stream. I've got a 10 series card. I've got a 1080 Ti. Did have two. One of them failed. So yeah. So what does everyone think to the Maxon One subscription? How are we feeling about that? This here. So it's basically a package which includes, you know, obviously Cinema 4D, Red Giant, Redshift. So you get the full package. In England, at least, it is. Let's have a look. Maxon One. Right, okay. So if you pay monthly, it's a higher price. And the annual subscription, about 100 bucks a month. Now, is that including, let's find out, is that including VAT? Even more. So including VAT. Okay, so a 1 year subscription for Maxon. This is the annual subscription. It's going to cost you £2,400 pretty much. Okay, see what the chat's saying. He's talking about the volume. Oh, not my mic. Right, okay. What is your card? Yeah, I've read that. Maybe the R23 to try and make the perpetual price easier to swallow. Yeah, maybe. Are you talking about the perpetual upgrade price or just perpetual price off the bat? I don't really think it's worth it. I would rather get an indie version. I noticed some people talking in the forums at C4D Cafe about a few people saying they'd like to see one. It's a difficult thing to think about, isn't it? Especially when you don't have any of the decision-making power. I mean, obviously you can air what you think and hope that it listens, but you know, the people there probably know what they're doing better than I do, and maybe better than you. But from a customer's perspective, you can only tell them what works. I've got to be honest, I've got over, in my last stream, I was pretty bummed out about being a perpetual license holder, and I was pretty bummed out about the subscription, and my general thoughts was I've just paid through the nose to be in this club of a studio owner, you know, and now you're telling me a subscription price and a new user can waltz in and not have to pay. Yeah, I was pretty butthurt at the time. I've largely got over that now. Yeah, so I can understand why they've done it. But I'll get into my personal situation a little bit more in a bit, I think. I don't think it's worth rather get an indie version. An indie version would have been better. Maxon One is extremely good price, still too high, but it is very good for what you get. Yeah, you do get a lot in there. I'm actually, obviously, what do you get? Red Giant, Redshift, and a load of other stuff. Although you could make the argument, actually, that Redshift, yeah, you get Redshift for C4D. I mean, they own Redshift now. And to be honest, I'd expect them to wrap that up as part of C4D, so it actually has its own in-house GPU renderer. Who knows? That might be coming. Some of the core changes that have been might be able to facilitate that now that they're being. Who knows? Who knows what the future brings? I don't. But it seems to me that you'd want your own built-in GPU render, especially now, as Pro Render is no more. It is not present in R23. It has been removed, and which is a shame, really, because I just started using it properly in R21. Started getting into it, but they've seen fit to wave goodbye to Pro Render. So yeah. You've got 2 in the basket. Have I? Okay. Well, okay. Oh, I see what you mean. I've got 2 in there. Yeah, actually, I was looking at this earlier today. Thanks for pointing that out, actually. Yeah, so it's actually half the price I just quoted a minute. I should imagine. One. Sorry. Yeah, okay, so buy now. Yeah, I've got 3 in there. So move those. Brilliant. Yeah, so it's actually 1,000 something. Excuse me, guys, for being the dumbass that I am. Yeah, I had 2 in there. Okay, so that's a lot more reasonable. 1,198. I thought it seemed strange. I thought, God, that's a lot of VAT. The EU are up to their old tricks again. But no, okay, so that's the actual price. That's a lot more reasonable. I apologise. That's not too bad, actually, considering what you get. In fact, it'd be interesting to see what those things totted up separately comes to and how much you're actually saving on them. We'll look at the chat again. Can you analyze in more detail UV tools? Can they at this point replace other software for that? We're going to be talking about the features actually in a minute after we've talked about the subscription stuff, what people think to the Maxon One upgrade. Perpetual upgrade, yeah. Means love the product, less so the management. Okay. Let's say 30 series doesn't exist. Would you prefer RTX 2080 Ti or GTX 1080 Ti? Well, obviously, I'd have the RTX 2080 Ti. If it was a choice of just like I'll have that one, yeah, it wouldn't be a problem. Got someone saying I'm bummed out because they didn't upgrade physics and no particle system, which is a shame. Times saving around 4 to 50%, 40%. Okay, well that's good then. I mean, it makes the existence of that of this subscription completely justified. Then, if you're saving 40% by doing this all in one thing, well, again, yeah, I mean, brilliant, really, isn't it? If you're saving that much money, the fact that they've bundled it together and gone, look, if we can tie you into our ecosystem even further, we'll reward you with a 40% discount. Can't say fairer than that, really, can you? I think it's a Maxon One good deal if you need it, but I guess many might have Red Giant stuff already. It's a good point. You're going to be a bit butthurt if you've already got Red Giant or you've just bought it just before this announcement. You're going to be like, ah, oh, God damn it. But, you know, them's the breaks, isn't they? That's the way I've had to look at, you know, being a perpetual license holder and, you know, moving over to thinking about moving over to subscription. I had to basically put my big boy pants on and go, well, this is the way it is now. Deal with it or carry on whining, you know? Yeah. Okay. So I think generally then it's probably good, but it'll be interesting to see how many takers there are. Because like you said, having Red Giant may not be wanted or needed, or but I've got a feeling it's probably going to be quite successful if what you're saying is true and it's a 40% discount. You know, can't say fairer than that. Davo says it'll be their main platform to sell for future, no doubt. Just their pricing, they'll need to lower it. Accessible. this is actually one part of this that worries me a little. And it's not because it's like, how do I put this? I suppose if you're a professional making money, this shouldn't be too much of an issue. For hobbyists, it's going to be a bit more of an issue, especially when you think of everything else you've got to contend with. The 3000 series cards that we just mentioned is a good example of this. If you want to be able to utilize the latest rendering technology, you need to keep your hardware up to date as well. So it's not just Maxon that's vying for your money. It's the likes of NVIDIA. And then you've got to think about everything else that wants a slice of the pie. You know, X Particle, Turbulence FD, RealFlow for C4D, and the other million plugins that, you know, want your cash. And the thing is, you want those plugins as well, because a lot of these things aren't actually built into Cinema 4D. So you have to actually look outside, and that costs money to bring them in to Cinema. Like I said, X Particles is a great example of that. In this case, Redshift, but or any other renderer, any other GPU renderer now that ProRender's got. So all these people are vying for your money, and especially this year, it's actually more prominent than ever because, you know, with everything that's happened with COVID, and there's probably many hobbyists and maybe even people that do this professionally that, because of what's happened. And that's actually going to play into my decisions. Discussing a bit, actually. Have a look. Strange Helix says, I haven't touched it, but I've heard of a website that gives away Cinema 4D for free, which reported, but nothing happened. Still giving it away. Okay, well, if they're giving it away, I should imagine that it's pirated software. So it's probably a crack. Actually, that's something else that's interesting. And I should say before I speak about it, Digital Meat does not condone the theft of software or cracks or anything of that nature. So, yeah, putting that out there. But it's an interesting point, actually, because it largely seems to me that, and not just Maxon either, but like the 3D industry at large, Autodesk and whoever else, they don't really crack down on that kind of stuff too hard. And I largely suspect it's because they know that that's where a lot of their future customers are going to be coming from. They kind of turn a blind eye to it, maybe. It doesn't seem like they're trying to shut them down or go after them. And I get the feeling it may be because, well, most people start there, you know, taking a crack of software. And that's where they learn their trade. And then later they get converted into an actual customer because they've got the skills to use that software. But this is a point I was going to make. Mike Abbott says, if I was a hobbyist, I'd be going to Blender, Houdini, serious. It's a good point. I mean, judging by a few people in the C4D cafe, there's a few people that do feel like that. I've seen a couple of plugin developers that have just basically gone, I'm out. So, you know, I think there's two sides of the fence here. I think, you know, talking about features, which we'll do in a minute, I think they're moving in the right direction. Pricing may be another thing, but, you know, there's two camps here. I gave Blender a fair shot and could never get into it, says Jonathan. That's a shame. And I've got the feeling that I might find the same thing when I start doing Blender streams. I think it's going to be so alien to me in terms of its layout and how you go about doing things. I've got a horrible feeling it's going to make me shiver and go, oh, I don't like it. But we'll see. I'll do a couple of streams and see how we get on. Strange Helix says, I've tried Blender. It's quite a unique software. It's also easy to learn. Okay, so someone else in the other camp then. I won't know until I've looked at it, but yeah, give it a look. Yeah, what I was saying earlier, the only thing that I worry about in terms of pricing, and like I said, everything that's going on at the moment, and all these different companies vying for your hard-earned. When it comes to hobbyists, I think that maybe an indie license might be the way to go, because what I'm thinking about is converting those people into future professionals, because if you make the bar for entry too high for someone that just wants to pick up the program and learn it a little bit and sort of get into it, not really earn any money from it, just sort of pick it up, have a good look at it. If the bar to entry is too high for those people, you're killing your future possible customers. That's what I'm worried about. I'm worried that 10 years time it's not going to be people, but like I said before, they might be turning a blind eye to the cracks and everything that are out there on, because that's where they realize these people come from. They're sort of grown in the Eagle Labs kind of thing, so maybe that's why they don't care so much. Strange Helix says, I mean, that's what trials are for and to learn. You think you can learn Cinema 4D in 14 days, do you? I'm still finding new things in Cinema 4D. And I've been using it for 10 years. So, you know, I'm not saying give them 10 years, but you get my point. Davo says, I'm a hobbyist, but this week was first paid 3D work I ever got. Congratulations, by the way. It feels good, doesn't it? So I don't know if that makes me an ex-hobbyist part-timer. Jonathan says, C4D has ruined me. It's my first love. Same here. And that's something that you could argue as well. They can command the price they're asking for because of those things. It is beautiful. Before I used Cinema 4D, I very briefly used 3ds Max, and that was in a setting where I didn't know nothing. I was wet behind the ears. I was quite young as well. I used it for a day or so, and I was like, oh God, this is like. And then, funnily enough, a friend said you should check Cinema 4D. I did, and I was like, this is really intuitive. I love it. And then I got a job in 3D. I managed to get my foot in the door somewhere. And at that company, I spent the next 10 years using 3ds Max day in, day out, every day. And then outside of my day job, I was using Cinema 4D every day. So I was kind of bouncing between 3ds Max and Cinema 4D. I've got to say, hands down, Cinema 4D in terms of sort of the intuitive layout, the UI design, the help menu, everything about it is beautiful. In comparison, 3ds Max looked like a labyrinth-like maze of new one, you know, in comparison. So, you know, but then again, I've had people that use 3ds Max. That was their first thing and their first love. And they feel the same way about moving to other software. So I suppose it's different strokes for different folks, isn't it? But that's what I fear about diving into Blender for the first time. I'm going to see it as foreign, and you know, C4D set that bar for me, and I'm just going to be like, yeah, you know. Yeah. AP Ashton says, we have the same story, Sam. Okay, cool. Everything in cinema just makes sense. It's really hard to describe until you start using it. I agree. And again, they've worked hard at making it this way. So maybe that's what they're doing with pricing. And should we move on to the features? I think we probably spoke enough about the Maxon One. I mean, the bottom line is, if it saves you 40% buying these things separately, that's a win as far as I'm concerned, isn't it? Very true. It's like the iPhone of 3D interface. Yeah. Interesting fact, I've never owned an Apple product. I doubt it will ever happen. So, well, let's get rid of this and get rid of Maxon One. So we've got the new in R23. So it'll be good. What does the chat think of these new features? What are your favourite features, and what are you excited about? Just let us know in the chat and we can talk as we go through. Okay, so first we've got these smooth moves. A lot of this looks quite interesting. Again, what I think I'll do is we'll talk about the features just in general as an overall. And then I think at the end of this, I'll talk about my personal sort of take on it and what I'm actually going to be doing. I've given this a lot of thought over. Yeah, and I think it's going to be different for each individual person. And okay, Davo's excited about the character rig stuff. That's really good. Okay, so first of all, we've got like the animation workflow. So for me personally, I don't actually do a lot of character work. A lot of mine is nested in sort of like hard surface modeling, rendering. I do rigs, but not necessarily characters. It's usually mechanical, like mechanical rigs. So there's a lot of crossover here. So some of this stuff will be really useful to me. Some of it may not. Apparently I'm cutting out. It might be because actually I'm hiccuping. There we go. Hopefully you're okay again now and you can hear me. Apparently I was cutting out then. Okay, so these are the animation workflow. There's aspects of this that will actually help me out no end, and some that maybe I don't care about, but that's like anything. I should imagine the same is for you guys. Got a pose library in there. The Delta Mush looks actually really interesting to me. Obviously, it smooths out deformations while preserving detail, which it says here. And that's not just something that can be used in terms of characters either. I mean, that can be used across the board. It does say it works particularly well with joint-based skin deformations, but again, that looks really interesting to me. Like I said, I don't do a lot of character work, so the face rigs in the character solver isn't going to be as sort of groundbreaking for me as I should imagine it is going to be for a lot of people. Let's just leave that playing while we're discussing this. I mean, it does look really nice, and the fact that you've got like these toon type deformations now as well, like bendy arms, scale up stuff like that. It does look really interesting. Me personally, though, a lot of my work isn't centered around that. So for me, it's kind of like hey, you know, it's nice. It is a nice addition. The better these tools can get, the better for everyone. And I should imagine, even though I don't use them a lot in the work that I might use them myself in just sort of general use and discovering stuff and maybe producing content. So there could be a use there for me. Jonathan says that the Delta Mush is going to save so many acids. Strange Helix says I'm cutting. And really want to try the nodes. We're going to get onto that in a minute because actually, in my opinion, that looks like the most exciting stuff. Not essentially for what it is now, but what it could be, and all the core, all the foundational stuff actually is what I'm interested, because that's laying the foundation of what's going to come. I think that's really exciting. The new node-based system based workflow is what I like, similar to Houdini, but yeah, okay, yeah. Excited about the node workflow, the new core UV system for me. I've been waiting for that time, says Ashton. Kind of topic you have used? Kind of topic have you used ZBrush 2021? Love the new cloth brush. I have not yet. In fact, it'd be interesting to see how you think it compares to the sculpting tools within Cinema 4D, because do you think they need to have a little bit of a pick up the arts? Are they fit for purpose, or largely for that kind of character stuff, that sculpting stuff, do you largely just deal with ZBrush because it is, you know, it's way out there? Let me know what you think. I'd be really interested. But yeah, it seems like a lot of people in the chat are excited about the node-based system. I have to agree. That does look really, really interesting to me. I meant kinda off topic. Oh, you meant off topic. I got you. I got you now, mate. Yeah, good. Let's minimize this window again. Okay, so there's some animation tools there. A lot of this relates to character stuff. A lot of it doesn't. It can be used across the board. This is actually going to be interesting for anyone. The better keyframing, the auto keying and all that stuff, because obviously that doesn't just pertain to characters, it's animation in general. The attribute manager and the timeline, that looks really, really interesting. Now, this is an interesting one in terms of Cinema 4D sort of in itself, the UV tools. I thought it was pretty impressive what they did with S22. Oh, I'm confusing myself. And I think that from what they're showing, let's play the video, shall we? Make it bigger. Actually turn the, for Christ's sake. Can I not play that? Yeah, I think the improvements they made in the last version of Cinema 4D, and the fact that they're just sort of adding on to that in this one, is even better. Unfortunately, again, this is one of those personal things I should imagine for lots and lots of C4D users. And this is going to be like the holy grail. And this is what I was after for a long, long time. I was like, oh God, I wish they'd upgrade UV tools so I can actually just work within Cinema. And now I'm actually, as I'm sure you know if you've watched my videos, I'm all about Ryzen UV. And you know, I've got a copy of it. Getting my stuff over there and back is as easy as hitting a button. So again, while these things are welcome in Cinema 4D R23, for me personally, I'm probably not going to use them because I'm already I've already got my system down and it seems to be working great. And that's not to say that I think this is rubbish or I don't think it's worth doing, because that is not the case at all. I think this is great. I think the fact that they're really stepping up their game with the UV stuff is absolutely brilliant. As it says here, UV snapping, multi-object support. Damn it. Like, again, something that has been needed in C4D for a long time. And again, as I said in my last stream, some of these things weren't actually possible before they made core changes to Cinema. Those changes they made to the core were actually what allowed them to make these kind of changes. Before that, it wasn't actually possible. So, you know, it's all very well and good saying, oh, this should have been in it ages ago. They'd have had to rip the core out of it, like they have been doing, sort of like in a gradual way. So I get the understanding, I get the thinking behind what they're doing. And it, again, is completely welcome. Line straighten and rectangularize, UV edit, layout enhance. Again, it all looks good. They've got a stretch map and a pinch map in there as well, which is absolutely fantastic. Let's have a look. Strange Helix gives a big lol. I don't know what that was in regard to, because there's probably a bit of a delay. I'm gutted that the chat's not actually appearing on the stream window. It's annoying. So I'll probably have to log out of YouTube and in again. So hopefully that'll be fixed for the next stream. Sorry about that. How do you rate Ryzen the S22 UV versus S22 UV? Which do you think is better? Well, I wouldn't know, because I didn't actually upgrade to subscription 22. I'm a perpetual license holder, and I'm going to get into the whole perpetual license and why I didn't upgrade to the subscription for S22. I've actually got a trial of S23 installed now because I wanted to have a good look at it. I've given it a cursory look. I haven't deep dived, so I've got I downloaded it yesterday, so I've got another 13 days to take a good look, and I will be doing that. But as it stands, well, I'll get into that in a minute. What do you think about the new Magic Bullet integration? Now, this is something that really interests me. Nodes and this. And actually just the general, I think a big shout out for the developers as well, because a lot of the time the stuff you take notice of is the shiny new features and all of that stuff, but the amount of work that's going into laying that foundation underneath, all that shit you don't see, basically, all of that stuff that's kind of preparing the ground and putting the foundation, so that all these things that you've been talking about can be possible because of the way that the core thinks. You know, I think that's yeah, I think that's great. But yeah, Magic Bullet. Let's move on to this. Let's give this a quick play. This looks absolutely fantastic, actually, because what it means is you can put, say, like curves. You can affect the white point, black point. You can put like a hue, like a glow. And not only does you can apply that so it's sort of like a post effect in your render. I mean, you've got it on screen right there, real time in the viewport. That's fantastic. That's great. And look at this. You can send it to Magic Bullet. You can make exposure compensations. You can do all kinds of stuff like chromatic aberrations. Get your own looks going on. And you can even save those looks out as presets. So if there's something that you do for every project, you know, if there's a set of things you do, you can save that out, preset, and then, you know, so I think that's great. And the fact that it actually runs in the viewport is fantastic. I think it's impressive, to say the least, I think. Reset, and the fact that it's actually integrated into Cinema 4D that closely is absolutely brilliant. Great thing about it as well, like it's showing on screen now, I think you can actually export those the Magic Bullet looks as a multipass, so it's actually separate from the render itself, and you can, you know, you can actually put it out as a multipass, play it again later, or that's. Will Magic Bullet work with Arnold Redshift, etc.? Well, I should imagine there's already a Redshift integration because they're both owned by Maxon. They just need to add UMID support. I think you mean UDIM support, but we have a free plugin for that. It's called 4D Paint on the C4D Cafe site. Great, so that actually gives you UDIM support. Really good to know. Again, a reason that I'm going to probably stick for Ryzen UV foreseeable future. You know, stuff like that. It's all these little bits and bobs. I mean, like I said, C4D's UV tools are coming on. They're coming in leaps and bounds, but there's a few little bits that I'll probably miss. And quite frankly, actually, I like Ryzen. I like its UI. I like how it works. I just like it, you know. I don't want to seem like I'm stuck in my ways, because I will give everything a fair shake, you know. But it actually slots into my workflow perfect. Carry on using that. Screen space reflections, right? These have been improved. In fact, let's take a look at screen space. Let's C4D R21 and the new R23. Oh god, I need to change this color scheme. This is actually how I like it. Changed it back to the old version. In R21 they've got the upgraded look, and I actually copied a load of settings over from an old. So I actually like the viewport color to have a bit of contrast to the actual UI. I find it a little sort of mentally disturbing when it bleeds into one another. Mike Abbott says MB working with Redshift already, so there you go. Magic Bullet already works with Redshift. Good stuff. Okay, so in terms of screen space reflection, this is R21. So let's just create a plane that has actual depth like that. Let's create a PBR material. New PBR material. Reflectance, diffuse, and we'll make it a dark color so we can actually we'll make the default reflection 0% rough. So this is what you used to have to deal with in Cinema 4D R21. And like I said, I'm not sure about R22 because I didn't bother sort of upgrading to it. Work with C4D since 1988. Still need the UV tools package. Only on Christmas or for the Christmas tree ball characters. Tech Art says That's Michael, by the way. And I work every day with C4D, plane, cubic, sphere, frontal map. PSD made textures are good enough for architect technical. Yeah, it's when you get into the more organic shapes and you need to pelt something out and that stuff. Plus, it's really, really useful if you've got really nice, good UVs for you're going to bring it into something like Substance Painter. There's always that to think about. But yeah, this what was I doing? Oh yeah, screen space reflection. So if you go into options and Shift V, basically, and turn on the screen space local reflections, this is the kind of thing you get in R21. It doesn't do a bad job. It could probably smooth out these samples a little bit and you know, whatnot. But the thing that always annoyed me was this effect will only work, at least in R21, if the roughness, this shiny floor, is at 0%. As soon as I turn this roughness up, it kills the screen space reflection. 2%, and it's gone. It just disappears. So that's actually an improvement that they've made in R23. But I've still got a little bit of a gripe, especially if you want to be rendering out what your viewport looks like out to something like preview renders or something like that. And hopefully it might be coming in another update or maybe a patch or something, who knows. But let's do exactly the same thing in this scene then. Create a material, new PBR, reflectance, let's make it nice and dark. See the reflective quality, and the default reflection will bring this down to 0. Whack it on the old pane box there. So we're going to turn on. I know that's Shift V. I don't know why I went through that menu then. Screen local. Let's turn this up to 12 so we get the full reflection there. Okay, so pretty similar. We're not getting those dots in there. It looks like those samples have been smoothed out, which is nice. And they've actually changed some of the naming in there as well. So this is actually saying distance, and you've got pixel. Let's actually turn 5. Okay, yeah. So kind of makes more sense with what they're saying, names and stuff. Anyway, let's get to the point of this. If you go into the material now, if you turn this roughness slider up, it doesn't just disappear anymore. It actually stays there. But as you can see, I've got another gripe with it now. It's never good enough, is it? The fact that these reflections, you know, from the sky map, from the internal HDR, if you like, when you turn the roughness of this material up, they get blurred. And it's a shame that the screen space reflections don't get a linear ramp, you know, that's attached to this roughness slider that basically blurs out the screen space reflection. You know, you could just tie them together, so when you turn this up, blurs out the samples, screen space stuff being shown in this material. Obviously that hasn't been done yet, because you can turn this right up to, it starts to fade off when you get up to about 60%. But yeah, no blurry screen space reflections as of yet, which is kind of gutted, because it would be nice to be able to have in your preview renders, if you want to send a render off to a client just to show the animation timings of something. Or so, not a massive gripe, but it'd have been nice. Have a look at the chat again. I work every day with C4D. Okay, I've already read that. This looks interesting. Cool. So looking under the hood and into the future. This is the stuff that I'm interested in. Not just because of the node system, but because of what it's going to allow. The fact they're updating the core and all of that stuff. Something you should be aware of as well. And again, I'm not trying to be the bearer of bad news, because this is all exciting stuff, but they've upgraded Python from 2.7, I think it is. I did write this down somewhere. Let's have a look. They've upgraded from 2.7 to 3.7, and we all know what that means. Broken plugins. So hopefully your plugin creators will be on it already and sorting that out. Some of them might already be sorted, and there might be no problem, but some of them may not work. So it's just something to be aware of. Yeah. Ashton's in the chat, and I think, if I remember rightly, I've just done a video on one of his plugins, which is True Split, and I think it already works in R23, doesn't it? There's just about to say about the plugins. Thank you, Jamal. Yeah, and there's actually some stuff that we got to speak about, not just in terms of Python being upgraded, other bits and bobs as well. But yeah, I'm actually quite excited about the C4D core and you know, the node system as well. The node system is obviously in its infancy right now, but the potential for this looks like it's going to be madness as they progress it and stuff. This is something that appeals to me. Procedurally generating geometry via nodes just means that you can have so much more in the scene. There was an example, I don't know if you guys, well, I should imagine if you're C4D have been, watching the IBC presentations over the last few days. And yeah, some of the stuff there to procedurally create geometry and thousands of objects. And once it's thought about what it needs to do and it's in the scene, moving around the scene with these thousands of objects in it looks impressive to say the least, you know. So this looks really good, and it looks like it could go places. I like the UI for it as well, actually. It looks very clean. And it does raise another question as well. Is this an espresso killer? In fact, I didn't check for it. I should imagine I'll be able to talk in a minute. Espresso is still in there as far as I can tell. Let me check. Gather you can still add an espresso tag to stuff. Camera tag. They move stuff around again. Espresso. Oh, sorry. I keep hitting a button with my neck on my stuff. But it does beg the, of course, espresso still there, yeah. I assumed it would be, but my question is, will it be? With this introduction of nodes and all that kind of stuff, is the idea, because I mean, it looks like they're competing in the same space. If nodes can do what espresso does and then more, is that going to be a case for bye-bye espresso? Is it going to be a case of nodes are going to supplant espresso and it'll go bye-bye? So that's something to think about as well. I was actually about to think about start making a series of espresso videos, but now I just think, is there any point? Is it going to be gone soon? Biohazard Studio says, wait, is this the Project Neutron? Ah, right, I get you now. Yeah, Project Neutron is the node stuff, basically. I'm basically saying if it can do all the stuff that you do in Espresso. And I don't know if it can or not yet. I haven't had a dive into nodes properly. I've given it a cursory look. Like I said, I grabbed a copy of this yesterday. A trial for. So I've got a few days to dig in deep. But obviously, you can see the power of these nodes. And obviously, Maxon can add nodes to this as well. So if they did want to weave what the functionality of Espresso into this, there's no reason they couldn't. So this might be universal kind of node system. Who knows? I don't know. Okay, cool. But yeah, that's really exciting to me, that stuff. It looks like there's a lot of potential. Like I said, Python 3, got some updates to FBS. FBX even, I'll be able to talk soon. Remesh generator, that looks actually quite interesting. Although, again, I did a video a little while ago and I've been using Quad Remesher, and that seems to be working out great for me, Quad Remesher. Really like it. So again, we've got this thing that's competing. It's nice because it's inbuilt, so if you ever need it, it's right there. Biohazard Studio says, I hope Espresso isn't discontinued. I love it. I actually quite like it as well. But, you know, if they wrap up that kind of functionality in the nodes, it won't be discontinued. It will be the same thing by another name, you know? So get your head around nodes and you'll be all right, man. I mean, that's essentially what Espresso is. It's nodes that you connect together, isn't it? So, okay, I think we can get rid of this now. Got another page. Oh, yeah. Obviously, if you were just to look down that page that we were looking at a minute ago, you might think, oh, it's a bit thin on the ground. But remember, this also includes everything that was added in S22. You kind of got a sneak peek at those things they added for that. So that, along with this stuff, it's actually a bigger list than you actually imagine. And it's also a bigger list anyway, because if you actually look at the full feature list, there's a bunch of stuff in there that they kind of don't mention on the other page. I think the other page is just saying these are the big ones that we want to talk about. This is the complete feature list. So it's all here. This is actually what interests me quite a lot, the workflow enhancements. And I think I've said this in my last streams as well. I don't care if they're going to bring out new singing and dancing shiny features every year, as long as they take care of the program itself, keep it running smoothly, keep it the cinema 4D we know and love, keep it running, ticking along and purring. Yeah, so I always appreciate the improve things, even if it's a little touch and you think, oh yeah, that's nice, or you know, you don't care. I love that stuff. I really do. Ooh, excuse me. So yeah, improvements to keyframing, that's going to be important to me. Marker enhancements, deformer enhancements as well. That's actually quite interesting. I'm sure you've all had it where you've put a bend deformer on a plane. You're going to bend it and go, why is that not bending the right way? And then rotate it. All of that stuff. It's actually a lot more obvious now because they've got little markers on there and stuff. And it's like, right, I know the orientation of this thing now, and it's easy to figure out, which is great. Jamal says, hopefully they work on the fracture and particle emitters on the next update. Yeah, who knows? I mean, it could be a case of, you know, now they've made core changes. Who knows what those core changes permit? It might even be the case that they take a long, hard look at thinking particles and go, we can do better. Who knows? Who knows? Who knows what the UV enhancements, obviously we talked about those, and Magic Bullet looks. That really, I think for me, Magic Bullet looks is the impressive stuff, and the nodes as well. And I'm not saying the other stuff isn't impressive, but for me on a personal level, because those things have already been taken care of, like I said, with Rise and UV, I kind of don't really, it's not that I don't care, it's just that I kind of don't really have a use for it. I've got something down at the moment. But I should imagine for lots of other people, it's going to be like, yes. So, and rightfully so. I can see why that would be massively great for a lot of people. There. I arrived late. Have you discussed the RTX 3000 already? Yes. Yes, we have. Sorry, dude. C nodes, we've just been over that. There was something else that in here that I thought was great. Oh yeah, it might be the stuff down the bottom actually, which I found interesting. Okay, yeah, general workflow. Display alpha channel in the picture viewer as a checker grid, so you can actually do that now. So instead of it just sort of being black, if you've turned on alpha, and when you render, it'll actually come up in Cinema 4D checkered grid, which is actually quite interesting. So at least you know it's a not rendering. Who knows? But it's little things like that that I like as well. The insert caret showing drag destination within the object manager. I think that's a nice little touch too, because let's just create a bunch of objects. If you grab this and move it, you've got a line showing you exactly where it's going to be. So a line is obviously it's going to, you know, go underneath that object. Obviously when it's highlighted, you know it's going to be a child. Not that it was too much of an issue before, but sometimes you could, because it wasn't visualizing this, you drop it and go, why is that? Oh, I didn't actually put it under there, child or whatever. So it's just like one of those nice little touches that makes it just that nice, you know, a little bit better. Ashton the creator says, hope they add a PBR game dev viewport Blender Eevee. I was just looking at Blender Eevee a minute ago because someone's written a screen space GI plugin for it. And I've got to say, it looks pretty impressive. And it's quick. So, again, another reason for me to take a look at Blender. So, yeah, let's go back to viewer. Instances can be made editable. That's awesome. And they've updated the Intel Open Image Denoise. Viewport selection tools now use Intel Embry technology for better performance and accuracy. Okay, so I don't know if the difference there will be noticeable, but any improvements welcome. Okay, so let's close this for the time being and talk about the other side of the fence. We've talked about what features have been added and all that kind of stuff. They've actually removed some things as well, and that's on this page. So they're saying to focus better on the core product, we occasionally have to discontinue features. They've removed the virtual walkthrough tool, which is a real shame actually, because I thought that was really useful. The sound system, so microphones and loudspeaker objects, I've got to be honest, I've never used them. If I was doing sound or anything like that, it was usually in post. But I suppose if you wanted sound to come from a particular place and area, they were massively helpful. Now, I don't know if they're going to be replaced or you can do it another way, something like that, but Maxon has seen fit to say bye-bye to microphones and loudspeakers. Guessing you can still put a soundtrack in your timeline, but maybe they, looking at usage data, they saw no one was using it. So they've removed that. But the biggest one for me is Pro Render. They got rid of it. That didn't last long, did it? Well, a few years. What was it? R19? Was it R19 it went in? So yeah, they got rid of Pro Render, and it's really funny actually because it went in R19, and I think I did a video on it during that version, or was it R20? I had a good look. Can't remember now, but I've actually started using Pro Render very recently. If you're on my Instagram, you'll see that a few of the results that I was getting out of Pro Render, I actually started getting into it a little bit. I thought, oh, this actually works out quite well with the PBR workflow with the materials, and it all just, they're C4D materials, and it just works with them. This is probably, I thought to myself, I should have probably given this a better chance. So yeah, the last project I worked on, I used Pro Render, and it was actually really easy to use, and I thought maybe I'll use this more in the future. A couple of weeks later, Maxon again, yeah, bye bye Pro Render. But they have said that I think what they're saying is going forward, Maxon is transitioning updates for Pro Render to AMD. We're committed to continue support for C4D. So I should imagine, even though it's not actually integrated into C4D itself, AMD will actually now start making plug-in C4D. Who knows? But yeah, it was that's a bit, that kind of shocked me a little bit because I thought that was their GPU render. That's what they were pushing. I mean, it would have been a bit different if they had removed it and replaced it with something else, like Redshift. They actually integrated it in, but they didn't. They just said bye-bye to Pro Render. Now you can pay for Redshift separately or as part of one of them. So yeah, I was a little bit gutted about that, I've got to be honest, although I didn't care about Pro Render for a good year, and it seems like maybe it's like a curse. I started caring about it, then all of a sudden it's gone. So maybe I should stop caring about some of the stuff in there. So yeah, that was a bit gutted, really. So what does everyone think then to the sort of updates in general, sort of the behind the scenes core stuff, and just the list of stuff actually? Because I think it's actually all right. And like I said in other streams, I like the fact that they're developers actually take care of stuff that needs to be taken care of. It's not always about, it's not always about singing and dancing features. It's about laying that groundwork, prepping for the stuff to come, and also making sure that those features that do come later that are going to blow your mind and blow you out of the water, they all need a foundation to stand on. Davo says, yeah, you better not do those espresso tutorials or else it'll be the end of that. Yeah, I won't bother then. Yeah, because they'll fucking pull that as soon as I do. Yeah. But yeah, just your opinions in the chat in general, really, about R23. That'd be great, and then we can talk about it. Or anything else to do with C4D related stuff. What about the ARM processor from Apple? What about it? Let's see what else is on my list quick while I'm waiting for you guys to pipe up. There's actually a really healthy discussion, healthy back and forth going on at the moment at C4D Cafe. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with C4D Cafe, and if you're not, get your ass over there. Very good. They've actually got a thread about R23, the overview, live stream, all of that stuff. It's a great discussion. It's a great place just to talk, and it's just a great community, actually. Really like C4D and Igor as well. Something else that I will say as well is a bit of a shout out to David McGavran, because he's actually active on these forums, and I don't know if that is normal behavior for a CEO of a company. Whether it is or not, it's certainly appreciated, and he's active on there, and he's giving answers. Now, these answers aren't always what people want to hear, but he's there giving these answers. So I think that deserves a shout out. Even though, like I said, someone will ask something, you'll give them an answer. They might not like the answer, but he gave an answer. That's the point. And the fact that a CEO of a company is lurking around in the forums is absolutely fantastic. He's making a CEO is making himself available to. Right. So for that, at least, I think that deserves props. Definitely. So much appreciated. Again, like I said, get over to C4D Cafe. You can ask questions there. There'll always be someone that will know the thing that you're after, whether it's to do with the software itself or how to accomplish something. You can see at the top here that in animation rigging. Loads of discussion going on. It's great. Yeah. Okay. So now I suppose onto the crux. Let's just check the chat out quick. Lol, yeah, they really focus on the new core. I don't blame them. I like the R23 release. I think in future I might go for Maxon One. It's lower price, or Indie for a perpetual sub. Yeah, I agree with you. I think in the future, the Maxon One thing looks. Right, I'll tell you where I am now. Now that we've sort of talked about the features, what's been taken out, just sort of C4D in general, and the Maxon One subscription. I'll tell you where I am. I'm currently on R21, and I didn't upgrade to S22. And in large part, that's because the subscription model, when it was announced, left a bit of a bitter taste in my mouth as a perpetual license holder, especially one that had sort of paid to be in that sort of club of studio, which doesn't exist anymore. So that kind of left a bit of a bitter taste in my mouth. And then I put my big boy pants on and sort of, pulled my trousers on and got over that. A good few months ago now. And I think the subscription model is great, especially for new users that are coming into it. And will I be converting my perpetual license into a subscription? No, I won't. And that's not to say that I won't get a subscription. I just won't be converting my perpetual license into a subscription. The good thing about the perpetual license, and as we've all learned from this year, with everything with COVID and how it affects your economics and all that kind of stuff, you never know if the money's just going to stop or what's going to happen. Now, if you're paying for a subscription service and then you can't pay to keep the subscription going, for whatever reason, you know, an asteroid hits the planet or something, unforeseen circumstances. Once you stop paying for that subscription, that's it. You've no longer got access to Cinema 4D. So at least if I keep my R21 R21 perpetual license and then go for a new subscription completely separately, at least if anything ever happens where I can't pay for the subscription, I've always got a copy of Cinema back on. Even if it just means, like, you know, 6 years from now, it kind of seems dated and not fit for purpose. At the very least, it's mine, and it's mine forever. And I can model in it at the very least. I can produce a model, send it out to other software. I'll do what I've got to do. So I'm not saying that I won't be a subscription holder. I'm just saying that I'm not going to convert my R21 perpetual into a subscription. I'm going to keep that. Just see what the chat's saying quick. I mean, I just bought Dem Earth just recently and I'm still having fun using 20. I'm still having fun with what I have. Well, there you go then. If you've got no desperate need to move on, why bother? Davo says, yeah, I wouldn't convert my R21. There's no pressure to have to switch or sign up to subscription. Cool. Okay, so like I said, as I stated, I'm going to keep my R21 perpetual. I paid for that, and I paid quite a lot of money for it as well. And I realised that by converting it into a subscription, that I actually get quite a big discount, I think. I don't know if that's still true, actually. It did when they originally... But even if it is still true, it's still not worth the money for me. I'd like to keep it. And like I said, that doesn't mean that I won't be a subscription guy. I'll just get a new one. Am I going to get a new subscription for R23? The answer is no for that, which is, you're probably looking at me thinking that is absolute madness, especially for someone that runs a Cinema 4D related YouTube channel. You're probably thinking that is crazy. You produce Cinema 4D content, and you're right. And the reason that I'm not going to be getting a subscription at this point is largely because I can pick one up at any time. Unlike the old the perpetual model, if my MSA was running out, it didn't matter if I knew what was coming or what was in the next version or not. I had to upgrade the MSA, or else it would just end and then I'd have to start from scratch again. So it was kind of like an incentive to go, well, just get it. Someone in the chat saying the quantity in the trolley is 2 units, changed to 1. He's obviously way back in the stream. Yeah. I can't even remember what I was talking about now. Yeah. So it's the good old times when you get a CD with the programs. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think honestly, I feel the same way, but I think it's because I'm old and I'm just set in my ways. Honestly, I think that the more I thought about the subscription model, the more I've warmed up to it. But you know, times change. That's all that it is, I think. But yeah, like I said, I'm not saying that I won't get a subscription. I'm just saying that I won't get one now. And there's several factors as to why I won't be doing that. One of which is when I look at the feature list, I go, great, it's all brilliant. I've got not one complaint about it. And this is purely from a personal perspective, and obviously this might not apply to a lot of you. But from mine, the UV tools I don't need. I've already got my solution for that sorted. The whatchamacallit, I'll get there in a minute. Oh god, do I need to pull up the web page again? The Magic Bullet stuff looks really fantastic, but it's not a necessity, at least for me. Not now anyway. What was the other thing? Sorry, I'm just trying to find the what's new page again. There was something in, oh yeah, all the additions to the character tools. And again, this is really personal, but a lot of my work and a lot of what I work in is not, I don't do a lot of character work. Do a little bit of rigging, but certainly not enough to warrant the price of a subscription. It's very few and far between. stuff for me. The animation stuff looks interesting, and I'm going to be gutted that I'm missing out on that. But for me, you know, the UV tools don't matter. The character stuff doesn't matter. Magic Bullet isn't the end all be all, although it's lovely. The only thing that I will be gutted about is the node stuff that I'll be missing out. But for the price of a subscription for a year, is the nodes alone worth it? Now, I'm not going to say no, because under normal circumstances, the answer actually might be yes. The nodes are actually worth the price of C4D, but it's not just about the prices. And this is why I wanted to talk about the hardware. It's also about these graphic cards. I need an upgrade. I'm due one. I've got a 10 series card. I'd like that jump for the price. I mean, you can't pass that up. For the price, that jump in hardware is definitely worth it. So I'm definitely going to do that. And at present, it's all about prioritizing. And for me, the priority is probably that over C4. But again, that is just personal, and I don't want that to mar anyone else's view and all that kind of stuff. So what do you guys think? Do you think there's too many people competing for your money now? Or do you think, I mean, what do you think? Just let me know. Yeah, and like I said, I don't want to seem like I'm shitting on this new version of C4D, because I'm certainly not. I think absolutely. But I think that I'm trying to plan out the next few months. You know, COVID's still not officially over, and there could be a big resurgence. Who knows? You know, it's all a bit up in the air. Davo says in a couple of years it will probably be worth jumping in. At the moment, it feels a bit of a transition period. Yeah, I think you might be right there. It does feel like a bit of a transition period, and for good reason as well. Like I said, the foundational stuff is important. So yeah, I think you could be right there. I think what they're doing now is going to set the stage for some fantastic things. And Davo says still have winter to get through. Yeah, we do. But it's, for me, the hardware side of things, the RTX card, is a must. I think I need to jump on that bandwagon now, because I don't want to be these people going, oh, just wait till the next series, wait till the next, because there's always going to be something bigger and better every couple of years. So you've got to get on board sooner or later. And I think in terms of GPU, probably a good time. So there's going to be that to shell out for, which is, I think, about 700 quid in English money. I could do Cinema 4D as well. In fact, I've got some jobs coming up which could pay for that outright. But I don't think I'm going to get enough use out of the new stuff to warrant. Not yet, anyway. Like I said, I'm going to be a lot different to a lot of you guys. Those UV tools are going to be very, very welcome for a lot of you. You're not using something else already. I, on the other hand, am using something else. I kind of love it. So, yeah. David says, oh, right, yeah, you going for RTX 3080? Yes, I am. I think that the jump between the 3080 and the RTX 3070 is big enough for the cost, but I do think that the 3080, the jump in sort of power from the 3080 to the 3090, the jump between those two things in terms of performance isn't big enough for the cost they're asking for. I don't think it's cost effective. Although one aspect where, I mean, they actually match in a lot of ways spec wise, but you do get more cores in the 3090, and one of the major features of that thing is the amount of VRAM you get in it. What is it, like 24 gig or something? So you're never going to run out of memory. But that shouldn't be an issue anymore anyway, because most renderers like Redshift and Octane, you've got out of core memory. So instead of, you know, running out of memory on VRAM or whatever, it'll just offload it elsewhere. James says, I think Redshift RT will need an RTX card. That is going to be when I get an RTX card. I think that will be at the end. Well, I think that I might be getting an RTX card, not at the end of the year, but next year, because according to some sources, even if you can get an RTX card on the 17th, they are going to be in short supply. So I should imagine they're going to be zapped up pretty quick. They're going to be, you know what I mean? They're going to be gone on the 17th probably. And then you're going to be hard pushed to get a card until probably early next year, which is going to be gutted. Personally, I'm going to be sat up on the website clicking the refresh button until it gives me the opportunity to actually buy one, and just fingers crossed I can get hold of a card. Biohazard Studios says that's another thing. I might look into Redshift, my next big purchase. Davo says there'll be gold dust for sure. Yeah, they're going to be rare. Yeah, it's going to be. I don't even know what time they actually get released, and it might be at different times for different time zones as well. So I have to have a good look into that. But yeah, I mean, what do you guys think about my personal decision not to actually upgrade to R23, especially as someone that creates content about Cinema 4D? Do you think I'm an idiot? Do you think this is sort of death nail for digital meat? Because I personally think there's plenty more to talk about in Cinema 4D, even in R2021. I mean, there's still loads to go through stuff, personally. But what do you guys think? Do you think it's going to be a bit of a disappointment that I'm not upgrading to R23? Do you think my content's going to suffer for it? Do you also think that, especially when it comes to stuff like nodes, I'm going to be missing out? Let's see. V-Ray 3.7 still don't work with RTX 2080. Perfect. They want to fix it with V-Ray 5.0. Okay, well, that's interesting. So, word to the wise, stay away from V-Ray if you've got an RTX card. Ashton says, I think R25 will be the right one to buy because Maxon will be done with the new core. It's going to take till R25 to get there. Is that what you're saying? And if so, how do you know this? Biohazard Studios, as long as you have useful plugins to achieve what you or your client wants, there's no issue with staying perpetual life. I'm considering upgrade perpetual to R23 in order to learn the nodes early. Yeah, actually, an upgrade. If you upgrade your perpetual license, does that mean that you can also download and run everything that's come before it? Because I've actually got the installers for R18, R19, R20 saved actually on a hard drive somewhere. If I was to reinstall those, would I still be able to run them on a perpetual license? You know, can I go back using my perpetual license? Or is it, you know, whatever your perpetual's on the last time you updated it is what it's stuck to? In my case, R21. I still run previous versions on. Because it might be worth upgrading the perpetual license then. If I want to get on board with R23, I can see what the money situation's like in January, and you know, maybe bite the bullet and actually upgrade the perpetual. I've been told what I need to do, because they don't advertise it on the website, is actually get hold of my local distributor. So in my case, that would be Maxon UK in Ampthill, I think. So maybe I'll have to give them a call and say, yeah, I'd like to. And they will tell me the cost. I think it's over $1,000, isn't it? I think it's around the $1,200 mark. That's without VAT. So Christ knows what it's going to be like when you add that on. Davo says he's got the installers saved from R14. I did have, but I think once it got to sort of 19, I went, I haven't used this in years. Do I really need it? Now I wish I'd have sort of hung on to him for sort of nostalgia's sake. He also says yes. I don't know what that apply to. You'll have to fork over £1,000. When he says $1,000 for the up. That with or without VAT, I must imagine it's without VAT. You can have multiple versions installed at once. Excellent. That's good to know. 3D Fluff mentioned in the cafe. might be more cost effective to upgrade every 2 versions rather than every version. I actually saw that post and I think you could have a point, actually. But now, if you upgraded every 2 versions, well, then basically what you'd be doing is just upgrading every September, like you used to. Because now there's going to be two versions a year, isn't there? You're going to have the S release in sort of like April, May time, and then you're going to have the R release in September. So you're still going to be doing what you did before. You're still just going to be upgrading in September. Unless you mean that you're talking about year, you know, leave it a year. But yeah, thanks for pointing out, James. Appreciated. So does I think I'm going to wrap up soon. Does anyone have any other thoughts or want to bring something up or chat about anything else before I bugger off? Every once in a while, old version to open an old file. This is why I keep the installers, and this is why last year when they said Maxon basically said, "Don't worry, we'll let you, even on subscription, we'll let you have access to at least the previous 2 versions." I thought, well, that's good, but I've been in situations where I've needed to open C4D files from 4 versions ago to grab something or grab a setup or look at something. So, you know, this is why it's when that was announced that I started grabbing the installers. Actually, I went, fuck that, started grabbing them. Ashton the creator says, no, it's just a feeling, but you can still work with R21. Because most of C4D releases, Maxon don't really advertise what is under HUD. Good, I think C4D. That they is be adding for very release. Okay, I think I know what you're saying there, but yeah, this is what I was saying earlier about all the stuff that isn't singing and dancing is just as important in my opinion. So props to the developers as well, Myra. Is anyone actually considering the subscription? I am considering the subscription, not this time round. That's the other thing about the subscription as well, because you could just pick it up. There's no forfeit, unlike the MSA, where if you didn't update in time, the MSA's gone and you literally have to buy the perpetual license outright again. There's nothing like that for the subscription. If you let it lapse, that's fine. You can just pick it back up again for the same price. There's no punishment, if you like. So, you know, if you're thinking about renewing your subscription and the new version's about to drop in 2 weeks, you can go, nah, I'll leave it and see what's in it first. Especially if you've got a perpetual to fall back on. I have, so. But yeah, to answer your question, I am actually considering the subscription. Not right now, but possibly in the new year, maybe. But if I've got the money. But again, as I've already pointed out, that I've not got a lot of use for the features in there. The UV stuff, for instance, I don't really do a lot of character work, so those 2 things aren't really. The only thing that would really sort of entice me and interest me is the nodes. Cats and Kitten says, NVIDIA Titan XP, is it a sufficient card for R23? It's a Titan, so I mean that answers your question, but are you thinking about buying that right now? But yeah, will it run R23? Yeah, no problems. I mean, I've got a 1080 Ti and it's fine, you know. But if you're thinking about buying that, you may want to reconsider. What is the? What does he mean by Titan XP? Is this going back a while? Let's have a look. Titan XP. Okay, so it's Pascal architecture. I mean, if you're thinking of buying that now, it's probably not worth it. You might want to go for 390. So, but it's up to you. It's your money. If you've already got one, it'll be more than sufficient. It should be fine. Yeah. If you've already got one. If you're thinking of buying it, I'd compare it to 3080 maybe and see what the cost is there. Evo says, Joe Mark, not presently. I'm more considering to upgrade Perpetual R21 to R23. You know what? I hadn't really thought about that. I was actually thinking more in terms of sort of keeping my Perpetual and then just going for the subscription. But now you've mentioned it, you know, would it be worth maybe looking into upgrading my Perpetual? Because again, it's another year, still having a Perpetual license and being able to go all the way up to R23. Maybe I'll leave it a year. Yeah, another thing that I could do is actually possibly leave it until September next year and do that Perpetual upgrade then. That's if I can do it, because remember, I'm on version R2021 now. That's something that maybe I should ask in the forums. If I leave too big a gap between R21 and say R24 or 25, maybe R25 next year in September, probably. Are they going to go, you can't do that because there's too many versions in between? I mean, I've got a feeling that they're going to eliminate the upgrade path for Perpetual licenses altogether sooner or later. So we'll just have to wait and see. That sounds like a 10 series. It is actually the NVIDIA Titan XP. It is a 10 series, but it should run. Joe Mark says, thanks for that, an interesting perspective. Definitely not worth buying if you have what you need. Yeah, exactly. And kittens, I have one, thank you. That sounds like a 10 series. No sound. Focus on RTX. What? Oh, I see what you're saying in regards to what I'm talking about with the upgrade. Yeah, I think you're right. I think RTX, I mean, I'm on 10 series card. RTX is R20 to R23 is more expensive as well, so the R21 might be. Davo says 1,700. Are you talking about the jump from R21 Perpetual to a Perpetual upgrade? £1,700. Is that what you're telling me? I mean, that's more than 2/3 of the cost of buying Cinema 4. Actually, without VAT. The VAT thing always fucking. James says dual 1080 Ti's continue to serve me well, which is why I'm slow to move to RTX. Yeah, this is kind of why I skipped a generation actually. When the RTX came, the last generation RTX, when the 20 series cards came, I thought RTX, it seems like a bit of a novelty at the moment. When you've got it on and, you know, actually running something that could take advantage of the RTX stuff, which wasn't much at the time, it seemed like a bit of a novelty. So I just thought, I don't think it's worth it. When I look at take the RTX out of the equation, and again, sort of like the jump up that you get for what's going on there isn't worth the cash you pay. I mean, what was it? A 2080 Ti was like 1,200 quid, weren't it? But this time round, I mean, what was it? Double a 2080 Ti with the 38 for $700. I'll buy that for $1. You know what I mean? Chat. Currently for R21 to R23 is £899. Okay, well that's more reasonable. For R20 to 23, it's 1,700 quid. Oh, I see. So it's kind of like this sliding scale. The further you get away from, you kind of like being punished. You didn't upgrade last year, did you? You're going to pay for that. I like it. I like it. That's some Marquis de Sade shit going on right there. Yeah, that's good too. That's good. Well, good to know. Thanks for filling me in there. Let's take these headphones off. I don't even need them. Oh, there we go. It'd be different if I had actually sound coming out of the headphones. don't, so I don't know why I'm even wearing them. Oh, sorry, I've obviously misremembered that email. Apologies. Oh, Zero Gravity said that he paid 1,000 from R20 to R23. Okay. Okay, so there is no... Okay. Right, so that figure earlier then, that 1,700 figure, the cake is a lie. I'm gonna do some digging into that myself. Should have done it before this stream, really, shouldn't I? But I've got to be honest. When the subscription thing first happened, and we were all asking questions about going, is there an upgrade? If so, how much? Is that including VAT or not? Blah blah blah. Can I do this? Can I do it? I've got to be honest. It was confusing as hell. It was like a bog of mess. It's becoming a bit clearer now, but I think at some stage I got sick of trying to look into it because my brain was melting. Whatever. So, but this is largely the problem. You know, one person says one thing, another person... Oh, dearie me. According to the stream here, it's saying my audio's dropped out. You have a look. It says the suggestion. Okay, we're back. I think my audio dropped out for a minute there. I think. David says, yeah, the resellers only quote excluding the VAT. Yeah, well, it's strange for us here in the UK because any price that is presented, you know, if you go into a shop and you see a price, that's the price. It's including the VAT already. You don't actually have to add it on in yourself, which is something that the Yanks do, I understand. Not sure about Europe. Maybe some places in Europe do it as well. But yeah, in the UK, it's always the price is the price. It always includes the VAT. So what do you guys think about the idea of doing sort of some modelling streams, just nice chilled out ones, where we can all chat, nothing too heavy, maybe get some lo-fi music in there or something. And again, it's not going to be like, it's not going to be for any particular reason. It's just going to be to hang out. Is that something that you guys would be interested in? I suppose it really doesn't matter if it is or isn't, because if I'm modelling, I'm getting on with my own, I'm in my own little world anyway, so whether someone's there or not, does it matter? Yeah, I think I'm gonna. AP Ashton says, "Yeah, you'd like that, man." So that's good. I think I'm gonna wrap up there. Is there anything that about Cinema 4D that I haven't really spoke about that you think is important that I've missed? I'm talking about the new version now, R23. Is there anything that you think I've missed talking about the hardware upgrades or anything like that? Or are we pretty much done now and I can go? I think we're about at the 2 hour mark, so I think that's probably about. But if there's anything else the chat will want a voice before I bug out, that'll be good if you let me know now. Oh, you may notice I've got some sweet new transitions for the streams as well. So sort of between this and this, it's pretty funky. I've got I've got these sweet little transitions now, which are kind of cool. I'm just sort of looking for ways to make the quality of the content a little bit better in general. Really. That's why I got the lights and everything. You feel about Blender versus C4D subscription? I personally keep playing with Blender, but always come back to C4D. Well, this is the thing. I actually haven't played with Blender yet in any significant way. I keep going to the sort of Blender website and looking at Blender videos on YouTube and thinking, should I give it a go? And this is why I was talking about Blender streams earlier. I think it would be really fun and probably cringeworthy as well to watch a C4D user that's not used Blender before try and wade through the treacle of a new UI on stream. I think that would be quite funny, actually. Try and figure it out as I go along, kind of. So yeah, I think I'm going to look at doing some Blender streams. It'd be interesting to see how sort of intuitive it is, or at least what my mind does as well, because obviously I'm really used to working a certain way in cinema. If I go into Blender expecting it to be similar or the same, I've got a feeling I'm going to be really gutted really quickly. So yeah, that'll be interesting to see. Tech Art says, that's Michael. So thanks for the infos. Have a good weekend. Bye-bye. See you later, buddy. Yeah, I think we're going to wrap up there actually, and yeah, it was actually great having you all in the chat and having a good old natter chat. But like I said, I think the bottom line for me is it's a great upgrade, and I think it's a great upgrade for just sort of the community in general. But for me personally, on a personal level, especially with the fact that I'm going to be upgrading my hardware and some other commitments that I actually haven't talked about yet, which are actually personal, so I'm not going to. Probably not the right time for me. So I'm going to say farewell and adieu. And I hope for those of you that do upgrade to R23 or have the subscription, I hope that you have lots of fun with it. And I'll see you all soon. Bye-bye.